But you come to realize I'm old. I'm almost 100 years old. It's hard to believe. It's hard when I look in the mirror and see things that happen now, and it's hard to believe. Really hard to believe. I grew up in Pleasant Point, right down most of Musquodoboit Harbour, born to Eva Williams and Frank Williams, and lived with our grandparents, Howard and Maisie. So my mother and father were both 18 when I was born, so they're really only children themselves. So my grandmother and grandfather were more like my parents than my mom and dad. My mom's like a sister all through a lifetime. And down at Pleasant Point is the Kent's Island. That's where we were. Pleasant Point. My grandmother was Maisie Jane Williams. Maisie Jane Sloan, and she married my grandfather, Howard Monham Williams. And they only had Eva, one daughter, and but Mame, if there was anyone sick in the community, they would know that she would be there to help them. She would always be there. Someone had scarlet fever, his family, she went up and lived with them and helped them. She worked really hard. You'd never know she slaved like she did. I was born in 27. She had 5 children altogether, and I was the oldest, and father was away most of the time, and on the ships and things like that. And then I went to school and had all the ordinary things, went skating, did all the things that you do when we're children, and had a good childhood, always warm, comfortable, lots to eat. Felt secure, and then as I grew, and I was about 16, I guess, 15 when I finished my grade 11, and I would have gone to Sheet Harbour to take my grade 12, and they were building the high school at Sheet Harbour then. They didn't finish it in time, so therefore we had my books. And I planned to go to normal college because I could go there on my grade 11, it was the same as the 12. And then the inspector of schools at that time is B.C. Silver, and he arrived one day and wanted to know that if I would consider going out to teach other teachers. And I, was sort of shocked, didn't think that would be possible. He was interviewing and trying to get, I think there were 4 of us girls on the Eastern Shore that he contacted. So, but I'm sure one of the girls was from Hedgedoor, and the other one of them was from down Ship Harbour way. And I think the 4 of us made it. Now, how many more there were others there, but I think there were only the 4 of us that worked together. So I think that must have been the group at the Eastern Shore, because it was during the war and all the women were gone. They were all working for the War Department somewhere, it was a war. So I went along with it. I said, well, give it a try. He said, it'd be what we call a progressive teacher. They took us out and showed us if the kids, would go to school, line up, good morning, be respectful, and then the seat, and then you had your recesses, and So I don't know how long, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. I don't know how long it was. And I remember it being a strange feeling, being there. Here I am, and nervous. Oh my! It's a wonder it didn't collapse. But you make it through. You make it through. And I think we made $27 a month, I believe, is what we made. And then he said, well, we'll put you in school. So my first school was Little Harbour, down the Eastern Shore, and boarded with a nice family, a good family, Keating's. I forget what Mr. Keating's first name was. I always called them Mr. and Mrs. anyway. And of course they always called me Miss Williams. I couldn't believe that, but I was Miss Williams, you know. The schoolhouse was only small, a wood stove, of course. And when the boys, I forget which one now, but when the boys for sure kept the fire on, you know. I don't know how many children there were altogether, but couldn't have been any more than 12 or 14, something like that. And I had the Boy Scouts. I think there were about 6 of them. I'm not sure, 5 or 6 of them. The kids were so good. And I just taught them. We sang God Save the King or Old Canada every morning. We say our little prayer, you know, and just do what you would do, what the teachers used to do with me. The only thing about I didn't have much of a voice to sing, so that was my start, you know, as far as the teaching goes. And then I did that for 2 years, from 1943 to 44, and 44 to 45. I took the kids on different couple trips. Went out to I don't know whether it was to Door Rock or if there's such a thing as Egg Island, I don't know. But we went to an island somewhere out. I took the kids and we had a day there. Sometimes on a Saturday night they would have a dance. Can you imagine? And dancing in that school. The size of it, you know. Too bad that little stool wasn't around to tell us stories. Yeah. And I used to go home some weekends. My grandfather had a car, and he and my brother would come down and take me home for a weekend once in a while. But a lot of times I would stay down with the Keatings. And Stella and Ida were around my age. We became really good friends. I remember the day the war ended. While I was down there. It must have been, I wonder when it did end, in 45. Yeah, well, the day it ended, I'll remember what happened that day. Father D'Entremont came out and picked us up, myself and Stella and who else? Someone else. But anyway, and took us up to my home. And I remember now, poor Mame and Pa, I mean, they weren't young then. And I believe it was a Friday or something. They ate fish on Friday, right? That time it was always eat fish on Friday. And we arrived there in time for supper. And Mame said, well, we'll have ham and eggs, you know. And I thought, oh, no, you know, they don't eat ham on Fridays. But they ate their ham. I don't, they ate their ham and ate their eggs, and, you know, no big deal, you know. Can't imagine. I really can't imagine. Well, look back, it seems to me like another world. Well, it was another world. It's like I've lived 4 lifetimes, you know, yeah. Then I came home and taught school in Pleasant Point from 45 till 46. Yeah, I was married in June the 29th, 1946. So here's up in the Baptist Church. Baptist Church is gone now, right beside the Pleasant Point Cemetery. That's where we were married. Then we went back down home at our big old house, Mame's house, Mame and Pa's house, where we had the reception. And people came from all over. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And up to the dance, up in the school, Pleasant Point School. They were there all evening, so the dance was over, you know. And then we went back to the house, and then we went to, so I say, they drove us out to a cousin, my mother's cousin. They lived in Spryfield. They took us out there to their house. Sunday night, yeah. That was our honeymoon, yeah. That was a big honeymoon. Yeah.